Hello, this is Michael Tillinger. Welcome to another video session of frequently asked questions about contributionism and one small town implementation. And in this video, we'll deal with the question, are we creating communities without money? Now, that in essence is a sort of double-edged question. Are we creating communities without the use of money? So we create communities where we don't need money to set up these communities. Now that clearly is a nonsensical idea. You need money for everything these days. You need petrol to drive somewhere to plant the food. So it's impossible to create communities without using money. Or the other way of looking at that question is, are we creating communities in which money does not exist? Now, neither of those are true, or neither of those are part of one small town or the contributionist philosophy or the implementation plan of one small town. And want to remind you once again, what we are doing is we're creating communities of abundance by using existing communities with all the infrastructure, the buildings, the warehouses, the farms, the factories, the pharmaceutical plants, etc., etc., the nurseries, the schools, the hospitals. We're using existing towns that have the built-up existing infrastructure to take that and make it work for the people of that town and that community. We are not, under any conditions, encouraging people to buy a piece of land and start growing some food like a bunch of hippies and trying to get together and grow food, and I don't know what they're going to do with that food once they've grown it, or start growing food and building houses and setting up little lots, because I can tell you from 16 years of research on this and visiting several of these communities, very few of these communities ever succeed. They become a nightmare. People start, what actually happens is these ideas sound great on paper. And as they start to evolve, and I've seen several of these start out from seedling ideologies where people buy a farm and then they start building their little houses and then grow food, and how excited they are in the beginning, and see how very quickly that falls apart and people start arguing and fighting. And I've seen at least one of my friends lose their land, lose their farm, and lose everything because of this approach. So this is not what we're doing. We're not creating communities of intentional communities or hippie colonies of any kind. We're doing completely the opposite. We're using the tools of enslavement as tools of liberation, and money is that first primary tool. We take existing towns, existing small towns, and we encourage investors to come and participate in the very exciting establishment of the new businesses, new industry, new factories, new technology, etc. And what we do obviously is we identify the industrial opportunity, look at the warehouses and the factories standing empty, everything that is not being used, we turn into an opportunity. The reason we can turn this into a business opportunity that is owned and controlled by the people of that community is because we each contribute 3 hours a week. Now remember, from the introductory videos, if we have a town of 10,000 people, we have a potential of generating up to and more than $1 billion per annum in turnover revenue. This is real numbers, real statistics from companies of 5,000 employees or more, that how much revenue such companies generate. Because in essence what we're doing is we're turning our town into a successful model of a cooperative business, where we have a number of diversified businesses, from farming, food production, all the different sub-activities of producing food. We're not just going to grow corn and sell corn in bulk. We're going to grow corn and make cornflakes and everything that one can do with corn. So we create a whole line of businesses, starting with growing the food, and then all the different products that we produce that we then also sell under the different companies and businesses that we set up in our town. So in essence what we're doing is we're creating a large cooperative business that is integrated on every possible level. So the farms provide the corn to the mill provides the wheat, flour and so forth to the bakery and to the manufacturing plant. the pharmaceutical company creates the medicines and the drugs, and they provide it to our hospitals and our healing centers. We grow the herbs out of which we extract the oils and so forth. I hope you start seeing the integrated nature of this. We're certainly not doing this without money. So we are creating communities where we invite investors. And we'll talk about why this is such a lucrative investment opportunity in a separate video, and why I believe once we start the One Small Town, the first one, it will create a stampede and a rush for conscious millionaires and conscious investors to find the next little town to go and be the first to invest, because there's a finite number of small towns. We'll get to that in a separate Q&A video. So we are using money, using the primary tool of enslavement, to create a foundation of investment opportunities by identifying all the possible business opportunities, whether it's industrial, whether it's agricultural, whether it's healthcare, whether it's entertainment or television, or whatever it is we want to do in our town, whatever it is we have capacity to doing, whether it's inventors and creating or engineering activities. So definitely, we're not creating communities without money. We're creating communities by large amounts of investments. The more we invest, the more successful our business will be. The business of our town will be. Keep in mind that everyone in our town that is a participating contributor, with simply contributing 3 hours a week, is a shareholder and has access to 2/3 of the profits of all the businesses. Not just one of the businesses, all the businesses. Now, if we have a town of 10,000 people and we get to the point through our diverse integrated businesses that we are generating a turnover of $1 billion per annum, you do the numbers yourself and be amazed at how much money will be distributed to members of our community every month. It is quite spectacular. So, are we creating communities without money? Absolutely not. We're creating communities by using money to set it up, investors to set it up, to attract the investors with unique investment opportunities, because after that opportunity has been taken up by an investor, whether it's a bakery or a dairy or a corn farm, there is no more investment opportunity for anybody else to come in, because that business belongs to all of us, and we're certainly not going to set up a competitive business that competes with our own corn farm or our own dairy. That is what we co-own with the investor, and the excess production that we create as much of gets exported, and we do not want to compete with ourselves. That is just insanity. That is the ideology of capitalism, for people to compete and destroy each other, dog eat dog. Under contributionism, we all cooperate, collaborate, so we all benefit from the success of our hard labor and our products, produce, inventions, whatever it is that we do. So ultimately, we are also going to be distributing money, so there'll be huge amounts of money coming in from all the products and whatever we do and export. But keep in mind, everything we do, all the money that comes in, that gets distributed, everything we do, that we create, whether it's milk, bread, textiles, food, etc., is available to all the members of our community for free. As long as you contribute your 3 hours a week, you have access to all the things we do, build, create, grow. That is the benefit to everybody in our community. So what will ultimately happen is that people will have more and more money in their bank accounts from the dividends every month, but they will have no need to use that money. This is the critical thing. Nobody will have to use any money within our community. You'll need to use the money when you go travel or go to visit other towns or go somewhere else, of course, because the rest of the world still operates on their own capitalist system. But you'll have plenty of money to go and do that. But in our town, you won't need to use money. So what we can say is that we're creating communities in which money is no longer needed. We're not creating communities without money, in which money is not used. Yes, we use money, we operate exactly the same way, but we have no need for money. And that changes everything over a longer term, slowly but surely. once people realize that they have all this money and yet they don't need it to buy anything because everything is available, because we do so much of it, we do it all for ourselves, we're the family. Remember, when you cook breakfast or food for your family, on, whether it's dinner on the weekend, a barbecue, you don't charge members of your family for a steak or the salad or the potatoes. We cook food for our family, and we grow food for our family that we then share with our family. And that's exactly what our town and our community becomes. It becomes the extension of our family. So what will happen is, once people realize that they have all this money and yet they don't need to use the money, and yet we have abundance of everything, food, technology, healthcare, everything is available to us, that's when people start to realize the ridiculous idea of money, that we don't need money. We need each other. Money does nothing. People do everything. And that will very quickly start to resonate throughout all communities and societies and other small towns that implement the one small town strategy. So we're not creating communities without money. We're creating communities in which money is no longer needed. And that ultimately will create a world of independent communities that have the full capacity to look after themselves without the need to use money. How that will ultimately play out is money will just simply disappear, and we will start to create and grow and invent and sing and dance and whatever else we need to do to live beautiful lives without any fear of the lack of anything, because everything we need will be created and provided by ourselves, and we can share abundantly and graciously with everybody else around the world. I hope that's given you a deeper insight into whether we are creating communities without money, that double-edged sword question. So until next time, this is Michael Tellinger. Thanks for tuning in.